Hello and welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty. Hope all you're doing amazing out there and enjoying yourselves as much as possible. Before I before I plugged in the microphone jack, I blew on the end piece like it was a Mario Kart N64 or something, and then I plugged it in. I don't know if any of you played Nintendo 64 or, I mean, if you haven't, I'm sorry, but it was definitely a staple when I was growing up, and Mario Kart was obviously part of that. But for some reason, those N64 games, like he just blew on it, and I'm not sure if it was the combination of like heat and saliva that made it work, but it always worked. And then slamming it into the console, you couldn't just put it in there; you had to like slam it in there like kind of forcibly, but it always made it work. And I guess I just did that to the microphone, like just out of nowhere. But that's that happened. Anyway, yeah, I hope all you're doing well. I've been in really good spirits recently, just kind of wanting to just kind of reflect on just things around me. I realize that there's a lot of times that we get wrapped up in our heads about things, and then when we look around, like the birds are singing, it's a beautiful day outside, and there are other things that I guess we can kind of bring our attention to in that moment that we're kind of wrapped up in this mental space. And that's just kind of something I've been doing more and more, and I've realized that I don't know, I'm just more at ease. I've been laughing at myself more, laughing with myself more, and it's been really great actually. And part of that, I've been reflecting on some things. And I remember when I was younger, it was between first and fifth grade, we had sign language. It was something that was kind of mandatory between music classes and sign language. So we would have like a music period that was like an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and 50 minutes, and that music period would be divided. Half of it would be sign language, like 45 minutes, and the other 45 minutes would be for music. And there was a certain point, I think it was like fourth grade or something like that, we had a play, and it was The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. I'll never forget, that book or that play. But I'm not sure if any of you read it, but it's about this tree that keeps giving until this kid cuts it down and then sits on the stump and wonders why he took it for granted. And it's actually a really great book. But we did a play on it, and my role was to sign the narration. So the person was going to introduce the book, say like The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, and then kind of like start the monologue for introducing what the play was going to be about. And I was supposed to be signing all of that. And I swear, I mean, I hope that there was an actual interpreter in the audience, because I got on that stage, and I want to blame it on the girl that was speaking. I like to say that she was speaking too fast, but it was just me. I didn't really know what I was doing up there. And yeah, it was just anyone that was in the crowd that was depending on me to understand what was going on. They were completely at a loss for what was happening in that play. But I think they took me off after the introduction. They were just like, yeah, I think we're gonna let someone else do the rest of this for you. But I just remember that, and to this day, I still want to learn sign language to be like fluent with sign language. And as I think about situations like that, there are so many times in our lives that we come across moments where something like that can happen, and we can be so discouraged to move forward with it or to continue to pursue it. And it it kind of it limits the possibilities of our lives. It's like I could have taken that situation, I could have been so down on learning sign language, and then I wouldn't be where I am now. And I still don't know sign language, but I still I want to learn sign language, and that motivation is still there. And I'm very confident that that will be part of my life at some point. But just in reflecting on that, I think about the situations that we all go through, and how sometimes it can seem like these experiences that we've gone through dictate our motions moving forward. And I think I've brought this up before, but it's something that is it's such a critical part of our lives, because it does stop us from moving forward in pursuits that could be so magnifying for our lives. And I'm getting kind of distracted because there's a neighbor that's chainsawing right now. He's chainsaws wood. He's an older guy that's retiring. That's just a little side story. But he retired, and he cuts wood because he says that he does it to stay alive. He says that otherwise he would just be sitting around the house and he'd probably die. So he cuts these like logs of wood. He gets like wood shipments every week, and just at random times he just like cuts these logs of wood, and he sells like cords of wood to people for incredibly low prices. So he's kind of just basically giving them for free. But I think it's pretty awesome. So you might hear some chainsawing in the background, but that's why. And yeah, that's just what that is. But Yeah, anyway, there are these moments that we have in our lives that we think our past experiences are dictating the motions moving forward, and that's not the case at all. Like at any point we can start moving towards something that previously we failed at, or previously we didn't try to pursue because we thought that we couldn't do it. So at any point in our lives we can start moving towards this. And I think about this example, that it was an example that Alan Watts brought up, and something that Dr. Wayne Dyer, I brought up him before as well. He also brought up this example, and I like the combination of both of their kind of versions of this story. And it's basically a metaphor about a boat, and it's a boat going down a river, and you're standing on the back of the boat, and you're looking at the wake. And these are the questions that you kind of have to ask yourself. It's like, what is the wake? And when you think about the wake is just the trail that the boat was coming from. It's like it's the past experiences, that it's where the boat was, but it's not where the boat is now. And the other question to ask is, what's causing the wake? And then when you think about that question, you realize that it's the engine in the boat that's moving the boat forward. As long as that engine is moving forward and moving that boat forward, it's going to cause a wake, because it's going to keep moving in a direction, and the wake is going to be the trail that's left behind. And the last question to ask is, can the wake ever cause the boat to move in a direction? Like, does the wake cause the boat to move? And the answer is no. The wake is just, again, the trail that's left behind. And as we kind of move this metaphor back into just our lives, our past experience are the wake. It's the trail that's left behind. And we are in the motion of moving forward. We're constantly moving forward, and we're leaving this trail behind. But if we constantly look at the wake, then we're only looking at these experiences that are behind us. Everything that's in front of us, everything that we can move towards, we can start turning that boat. We can move it in any direction that we want to. But as long as we're just looking at the wake, the boat's just going in any direction. Like, who's steering the boat? We have to always remind ourselves that our past experiences don't dictate our motions moving forward. They can tell us about where we've been. Again, you can look at the wake, and I actually love sitting on a boat and looking at the wake of a boat. But if I did the entire boat trip looking at the wake of the boat, I wouldn't see all the beauty that is around me. I wouldn't see where I'm going. I could be going towards, like, a sand dune or something like that. It's like there are so many things that we miss if we're constantly just looking behind us. And there are things that we don't even try to pursue, because we think that what's happening or what happened to us is going to be what moves us forward, or going to be the cause of the things that happen after us. And this is something that Alan Watts says, and I think this is something that's so relevant for this. And thinking that our past experiences dictate our future actions, it's like saying the tail is what wags the dog. And I mean, it's not something that is the case. And actually, I thought about this example, and I thought about my dog, and he was always so, like, he wagged his tail so furiously that it seemed like his back end was moving his front end. But everything is coming from the front end. It starts from the head. It starts from the motion forward. That's what moves the direction. And as long as we keep looking backward and thinking like that's going to move us in any kind of direction, then we can't make the progress that we want to see. And something I always think of when I hear this metaphor of this boat, I always think about who is driving the boat. Because someone has to be driving the boat at all times. And if you're looking at the wake, if you're only looking at the past experiences and trying to move forward from that point, then you're not the one that's steering the boat. You're only looking at the wake. We steer the boat by steering our life in the direction that we want it to go in, by moving towards those emotions that make us feel good, those things that make us feel good, the things that make us feel empowered, the things that make us feel loved, the things that make us feel like we are doing what we're meant to do. Those are the things that we're meant to move towards. That last episode on emotions, that's what that was guiding towards. It's like, we can start moving our intentions towards following the things that feel good, as if our emotions are like a signal, like a metal detector, and we kind of just like hold it around, and there are different things that we're beeping on, and sometimes those things that we're beeping on don't feel good, so we can kind of move it away and then try to guide it towards those small increments between something that is great, something that's beautiful. And sometimes it is like going for, metal detecting in the beach or something. And a lot of that bad stuff is the sand. And then you kind of have to search for that good thing. But when you start seeing it, when you start hearing that thing beep a lot more, you can start just kind of like circling around that area. You start like diving in towards what that is. And as you start uncovering it more, you can say like, okay, when I hear that beep, when I hear it make that sound, then I know that that's something that's right for me. I know that that's where I want to be. So now you can go through that beach again, and you've heard these sounds before, but now you can say like, okay, now I know what that sound is. I know it's something that I want. I know it's something that's calling for me. So as we go through our life, we have to think of it as some kind of, it's like trying to identify those things. And then once you identify them, once you identify the things that feel good for you, move towards them. And that is driving your boat. And sometimes, driving your boat doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to go fast down any direction or down any path. When you are in control of your boat, you can just kind of notice everything around you. And it's kind of the best part of any kind of boat trip. If you've been on a boat, the best part isn't the destination. It's like the time that you're going there. It can be beautiful outside, like a sunny day. The breeze is going, maybe you have people around you that you care about. It's, obviously beautiful water, maybe trees, and just, I don't know, you're just enjoying the situation. You're enjoying the experience. And maybe the destination is back to the dock. Or maybe the destination is to, some kind of crazy party that you're super excited about because, it's on a lake. I don't know. But either way, like it's the destination is something that is great to look forward to. But even now in this moment, on the way there, it's amazing and it can be beautiful. But if we're only looking at the wake, then we are missing out on everything else that's there. Because after the fascination is gone with the wake, we're going to start wondering, well, what else is there? You start getting bored. You start getting like, I've seen this before. I've seen this time and time again. This keeps happening, keeps happening. I want something else. I want something different. I want something more. And all you have to do is look up from that wake. And even if you don't feel as though you can steer your boat in any direct direction or any like certain direction, you can at least look up from that wake and just look around. And something that I've been doing a lot more is, again, like I mentioned this in the beginning, is, we can get wrapped up so much in our head in the past in situations that aren't present right in front of us. And those situations can cause us to feel something just so not pleasant in this moment. And then all we have to do is look up from that wake and look around us and see that it's a beautiful day. Hear the birds chirping. See that you're comfortable. You have a roof over your head. Maybe you're eating something. Maybe you're driving in a car that works. Maybe, things are okay. And we have to remind ourselves of that sometimes because those situations can seem so real when we're in our minds, like when we're just with ourselves in that way. And something that I came to realize recently is that, situations themselves, like the experiences of traumatizing situations, those aren't the things that detriment our lives. Like those situations, they're just situations. And although traumatic, they don't necessarily dictate our experiences. And the reason I say this, or the reason I start to think about this, is because there are people that have gone through crazy traumatic situations and then they just continue moving with their life. There was a story I was hearing about this woman that was driving with her kids, I think taking them to school maybe, and she stops at a stop sign and a car pulls up next to her. Before she can even turn around, the window rolls down and the guy shoots her multiple times. Apparently, like, a bullet goes like through one eye socket and out the other one, so she's completely blind. She realizes she's been shot, drives forward, just like keeps driving forward, and then pulls over to the side, and it's kind of trying to figure out what's happening. And a man comes up and says, "Oh my gosh, I saw what happened. Let me help you." And she opens the door to help him, and she goes with him, not realizing he's the one that shot her. So then, he takes her and, abuses her for however long. And she finds a way to use whatever elements that she had within her, whatever wits that she had, to get away from him, to escape. And she was found, and she ends up in the hospital for like a week or so. And the first thing she does when she goes out of the hospital, she like picks her kids up from preschool, and it's like kind of just starts doing her life again. No therapy or anything. Like, I think she was completely blinded, obviously, from that situation. And, people that go through that situation, I mean, I don't even know what I'd do if I went through that situation. I mean, maybe some therapy, or, at least some meditation, some time to reflect and, I don't know. But, to go through something like that and then just start your life, and to say that it's because, like, it's something that happened, and that for her kids, or I don't know what her reasons were necessarily, but that's what she went through. And as I think about that, and as I think about how traumatic that can be for anyone, it makes me realize that traumatic situations themselves aren't what causes the detriment in our lives. It's not what causes the loss of, vitality or anything in our lives. It's the recollection of it. It's the thinking about it. It's the persistent thought on it that causes us this pain in our lives right now in this moment. There's another story that I was hearing about, of a father that had heard his son had died in war, and had just heard the notification about it. And then within like a couple hours, he's seen dancing, happily on the dance floor. And someone asks him, like, how are you dealing with this? Like, how are you dancing and so happy after just hearing news about your son passing? And he says, I had to come to terms with this sooner or later. I decided sooner. And, although that can be something that's so crazy for people to think about, like losing someone so close, like a child, like to kind of think about it in that way, that is a way that people have processed things. And now that's not the way that you have to process things by any means, but I'm just saying that, as I think about that situation, I bring it to corresponding situations, which are much to a lesser degree, where it's like in these situations where we're looking at the wake, so to speak. We're looking at these past experiences, and it could be maybe a revelry of the past, where it's like, oh, those were the good old days, or just thinking about a situation that happened, an argument or something that is just wrapping up your mind and your mental space. All of that stuff it's all the wake. It's all just the memory of those things. It's not happening right now. So if we look up from that wake again and look around us, we can see that things are okay. And even if we kind of find ourselves kind of steering back towards that wake and starting to veer back towards that, we can at least know, we're like, I remember looking up and it was beautiful. I remember looking up and I was blissful, even for the moment. I remember looking up and I felt the sunshine and it was amazing. It's only that moment that we need to start identifying it, for that metal detector to pick up on that moment and say, yes, this is me, this is part of me, this is what I want. And then as we start taking in that more, and as we start kind of embracing that more, and looking up more and looking around us more, we start saying like, yes, I want more of this. And over there looks really sunny. Over there looks beautiful, it looks immaculate. I want to go in that direction. Then you start steering in that direction. And have you ever been maybe I keep thinking of like being on a lake or something, and it's like you see an area that's like it's really sunny, and you kind of just imagine being there already. It's like, or you're planning on going to a trip, and you just imagine already being on the trip. It's like it feels so good right now in this moment, and that is like, that's that belief, that's that belief that's in this moment. Like, I feel that it's already happening. When you buy tickets for that show, when you plan to go on that vacation, when you plan to go to that expensive restaurant that's supposed to be like the best in town, like you are excited for it, you feel good about it, you remember all the things that you need to get ready for that trip, for that dinner, for everything that you need to do, because it's so exciting. Everything is just amazing, like picking out the clothes, like everything is just fantastic in that moment, in that time that you're planning to get ready to go to this place. And that's how we're supposed to feel anytime that we're moving towards the things that we're passionate about. Feel it right now in this moment. Feel that sunlight. Even if it's cloudy right now, feel that sunlight that you see. You see the sunlight, you see the rays coming down, you felt a few of the rays, and you're like, you know what? That's what I want. Believe that it's already yours, and it's already yours. And belief is something that's so hard to wrap our heads around sometimes. And I think that sometimes we think belief is something that's a wishy-washy thing. It's like, do you believe like this is the case? And you're like, well, I don't really know. Like belief is, it's, it's something that is, it's a truth. It's like a belief is your truth. And when you believe something, it's kind of like it's like a knowing. It's like I know this is the case. And I think that we kind of started to steer belief in this direction of being something that's so just abstract that we stopped kind of believing in things, or we stopped believing in our ability to believe. I don't know what happened in that time, but belief is knowing. And there are many things that we have to know in our lives in order to get to the place that we want to get to. We have to know that we can do it. We have to know that we are deserving of it. We have to know that we are good enough. We have to know that everything that we are is going to be worth and able to have exactly what you desire. You have to know all of those things. Like your name. If someone came up to you and said your name isn't your name, like if someone said, hey, your name isn't Tom, you're like, well, I don't know who you are, but I know my name is Tom. It's like that. I'm not sure why I used someone else. I should have just said Ty. Like if someone came up to me and said, like your name is Ty, I was like, well, that's cool that you think that, but I know what my name is. And that's something that we have to have belief in, kind of in everything that we do, is believe it as if it's your name, as if someone's trying to tell you that your dream that you want to have, like hold that to you as if it's your name. Know that you can have it. Know that it's yours already. And when someone tries to say something to discourage you, when someone tries to remove you or tries to get you to think something else, let those thoughts be as those people that are trying to tell you something that you know is not right. When people try to discourage you, you say, no, that's not right. I know my name. I know what's my truth. I know. And that is belief. That's ultimate belief. Because when you believe that you're going on that trip, when you believe that you're going on that vacation, and you're going to that restaurant, you're not getting ready and you're not hoping that, oh man, is that restaurant going to catch on fire before I get there? Is that, are my trips going to, are my tickets to the plane going to like get lost in that process or something like that? We're not worrying about those things. We're just feeling happy and just excited in that moment. Yet in our lives, when we try to move towards the things that we're passionate about and things that we want, we feel that excitement and then we turn around and say, but what if, or but also, or have you thought about this, or like there are these other things that we kind of put into our minds to combat that idea that we can't achieve it or that we can't do it, and that is the thing that makes us look back at that wake. And I know, thinking about this idea of just believing in something that you want to achieve despite your past experiences, it can be something that's so hard to think about, to kind of just remove that and start moving forward and jumping into this new journey that may seem scary and new and unknown to you. But this is something that is just it's just part of our lives. It's part of our experiences, and it's part of the joy that we get to experience within life. Another example that I've heard of was a child kind of hanging on the side of a pool, not really sure how to swim yet, but kind of holding onto the side and in the water, but just kind of holding onto the side and maybe letting go for a second and then grabbing back on really quick. And then there's that moment that they just let go and they just start going for it. Now, between that moment of them holding onto the wall and just letting go, they didn't suddenly know how to swim. They didn't suddenly like immediately gain that insight from some kind of divine light to know how to swim perfectly, because you see them going off and swimming and they're doing all of this work just to get 2 feet to the other ledge, and they are so excited about it. But they start swimming, and then you see them the rest of the time doing that 2 feet back and forth, swimming as kind of crazy as they want to. But in that moment before they let go of that wall, they didn't know. They just believed that they could, and they did. It's all about belief. Every step in our life has always been about belief. When you were a toddler, when you wanted to take steps, you stood, you walked, you fell. And you believed that you could. Whether you know your infant mind or not, you believed that you could. So you got up again, and you stood, and you walked, and you fell. And you did that about 100 times. And then you finally took 2 steps, and then you fell. It's something that keeps happening, but the belief is what keeps us going. Belief is everything within our lives. Belief is knowing. Know that you can do that. Know that you can look up from that wake. Know that you can see the beauty around you. Know that you can achieve anything that you want in this life. Know it. Always know it. And it doesn't matter if it's been years since you've done something. It doesn't matter. It's kind of like, know it like you can ride a bike. If you learn how to ride a bike at one point and someone says 20 years after you've, never ridden a bike, hey, it has been a while since you've ridden a bike. 20 years later, someone says like, hey, can you ride a bike? You're like, yeah, I know how to ride a bike. It's been 20 years, but I know how to ride a bike. If someone pulls out a bike, you're not going to start biting your nails and get nervous. Like, you're going to, like, are you seriously getting a bike? Like, and then you're going to get on that bike and you're going to ride it. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. If you believe, if you know for sure, then it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. But don't fill yourself with doubt. And I know that's, again, easier said than done, but you have to notice when you're doubting yourself. When you put in something that you want to have in your life, and then other thoughts start coming in that aren't in congruence with that, notice them, and then let them pass. Start defining your dreams as you define yourself. Make them as part of yourself, as you make your name as part of yourself. Know them as part of yourself, and then all the other things that come to try to wash that away or wish that away or doubt that away, it's going to be like sandcastles. You knock them down. You are the ocean that washes away all of that, as long as you believe. So yeah, that's kind of been my thoughts, and it's kind of crazy. It all did come from that thought about the giving tree, which is something that's really, really interesting because, our thoughts can lead us to amazing places if we allow them to. And, as we kind of recognize these situations in our lives and the moments that we persevere, the moments that we enjoy life and enjoy bliss and enjoy contentment and enjoy just moments, of love and experience, and then we can hone back into those experiences. We can bring ourselves back to those experiences. We can bring those experiences into our lives as long as we know we can. So, yeah, that's really all I have for this episode. The next episode is going to be on creativity, which I think is amazing, amazing, amazing. If you have any thoughts or ideas or any topics that you'd like to send in, you can send those to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. You can join any of the social media groups. Instagram, everything.sunpodcast, Twitter @everysunpodcast, and the Facebook group @everysunpodcast as well. I love you all, and I will see you next time.